What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, guys, we're going to talk about this 2022 Ford Escape Hybrid SE model. Now, I got to tell you guys, I've owned this car for about 3 months. I've been driving around, and I got to say, I love everything about it. It's an SE model. You can see it's got an appearance package on it. It's got a nice set of wheels. The car looks really nice, and I'm really enjoying it. But the thing I'm enjoying the most about this car is the fuel mileage. Ford's got it rated at 44 miles per gallon city and 37 highway. Now, like I say, I've been driving around for the past 3 months, and my fuel mileage has been a lot better than what Ford has it rated at. So what I've done is I've compiled a slideshow of every trip summary that the dashboard will display every time you take a trip and shut the car off. So we got a really nice slideshow, and we're going to illustrate the phenomenal gas mileage that this 2022 hybrid is getting, and it's pretty interesting data. So let's get into it. Okay, everybody. So what we're looking at here is a trip odometer that's been cleared. You see the range is 592 miles, full tank of gas. I just filled it up. Car's got 634 miles on it. You see it's 75 degrees outside, and the trip odometer has been cleared. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you a trip summary for every trip that I took over 1 tank of fuel, and at the end of the video we'll show you the end results, fuel mileage. So here's the first trip, about 9 miles. It averaged 55.9 miles per gallon. That trip yielded 52.8 miles. 9-mile trip, 5 miles were electric miles. Okay, and then here's the next trip. Went a little bit further. Average dropped to 52.3. You see the range dropping. And then that trip yielded 50 miles per gallon over a 13-mile period, 8 of which were electric miles. And then we move to the next trip. Average is 52.4. That's a common thing that we see through this video. And then that trip yielded 52.6 miles per gallon, 12.7 miles, 8 of which were electric miles. And then here's the next trip. Average dropped to 52.2. You see the range dropping. And then the trip summary on this one yielded 51.8 miles per gallon over a 13-mile period, and 8 miles were electric miles. This is one of my jobs I go to that's about 13 miles. Pretty typical. Okay, so at this point we're going to speed things up a little bit. You can see the MPG over 50 miles per gallon in most cases. Okay, when the screen is muted like this, that's a night trip. Okay, and fuel mileage will generally be a little bit better at night. In a case like this one where it's sort of glary, that's a day trip. And you'll notice that the fuel mileage on the day trips, because of the hot sun, car's got to run the air conditioning, and the fuel mileage isn't quite as good. But generally, over 50 miles per gallon for every trip. Every once in a while you might see one at about 48, but on the most part we were averaging well over 50 miles per gallon on every trip. Quite impressive as far as I can see. Car's only rated at 44. So this car performed very, very well, and as you know, we go through all the trip summaries, you basically get a good feel of how this car runs and what kind of fuel mileage it gets. And I have to say, I really do like this car. It's definitely doing a lot better than I expected, and I'm really pleased with that. Okay, so we're going to continue on with the trip summaries. You can see we're still getting over 50 miles per gallon. I'm getting better at driving the car at this point. And here at this point, I remember I was stuck behind a slow-moving vehicle, and it basically held my fuel mileage. All other conditions were good that night. The air was nice and clear, low air density. The wind was in my favor. I was driving on a back trip back to the house, which is generally a little bit more downhill. So the fuel mileage was really good on that trip. But generally over 50 miles per gallon on just about every trip that I took. And it's really amazing. I did not really drive this car, with a heavy foot, but I wasn't really trying so hard to get the best fuel mileage out of it. I was just driving it like I normally would, but you start to learn things about your hybrid. There's certain ways to drive them that you can improve the fuel mileage. And as I drove this car over this tank full of gas, the fuel mileage was picking up, over and over again. And the average, see, there's one that wasn't so great, but generally over 50 miles per gallon. And it was doing so well. Very impressive little car. Definitely doing a lot better than what it's rated at. It's capable of doing a lot better than what it's rated at. Okay, so at this point, we're getting down to it. You can see the range dropping, and at around 30, 35 miles to empty is when I conclude the test. And you can see here, we're at 35 miles to empty. This is where we shut it down. And this was the last trip to the gas station. And here you could see the end results. Okay, here we're just going through some of the telemetry. And we're going to see the end result right there. 51.2 miles per gallon average on my trip summary, basically back and forth to work. Now, honestly, guys, my trip back and forth to work isn't exactly city driving. It's probably about 85% city and, about 15% highway, because I generate speeds close to 55 miles an hour sometimes. But there you see 640 total miles, 413 of those 640 were electric miles. And I find that amazing. Here, I cleared that out. That was quite an experience. And here I'm filling up the car for the second time. I've owned this car for almost 3 months. And this is the second time that I've had to fill up the car. What's not to like about this? The car is powerful. You drive it around. It gets you moving. And it doesn't cost you any more. A regular Ford Escape with a 1.5 liter turbo cost the same money as this hybrid did. So I didn't, there you can see I paid $3.96 a gallon. Prices have come down, but still, I buy gas. So I do want the prices to come down. They're $54.80 for the tank full. And just to note, that whole series was on normal mode, not on eco mode. Here I am switching it to eco mode for the next trip, because I'll probably be compiling another video to see if it does any better in eco mode. But, 51.2 miles per gallon was the average on a tank full of gas, 640 miles. She's only got a 14-gallon gas tank, so I ran it down almost to the bottom because that fill-up took 13.8 gallons of gas. So like I say, guys, I like this Ford Escape. This hybrid drivetrain is something that Ford's been working on for over a decade. It's been used and modified and refined in many other cars that preceded this one. This 2022 model, isn't really much different than the 2020 model of this Ford Escape when it first came out. It's a sizable car. It's a nice looking car. It's spacious inside. I really can't say that there's too much that I don't like about this car. I've been driving Ford vehicles for most of my life. I've driven other brands. I don't really have anything bad to say about other brands. But I have to give Ford some really high marks for this Ford Escape Hybrid. And chances are for me, guys, I'm going to be buying hybrids probably for my daily driver. This is probably what the future holds for me. But I got to be honest with you, Ford did a really good job with this car to produce over 50 miles per gallon out of a simple, basic, small sport utility like this one. How could you go wrong? And being that this is a sport utility, it is not a crossover. It does have some towing capacity. And, if you got to put a 2-inch hitch on it, for whatever reason, I think this car has a 1,500-pound towing capacity. I personally don't plan on towing anything with it, but I do have a carrier for my e-bikes, that I need to put on this. So, I've actually already put a class 3 hitch on, a 2-inch hitch. And I can't say it enough. Yeah, you can see it's a hybrid. I can't say it enough about this car, guys. Ford did a great job. And like I say, averaging 51.2 miles per gallon, how could you go wrong? So if anybody asks me, do I recommend this car for anybody? Absolutely. If you're looking for a hybrid, if you're looking for a way to avoid the high gas prices or the volatile gas prices, because they've been all over the map. For as long as I've been driving, I've seen spikes in gas prices over and over again, and really, that doesn't sit well with me at this point. I'm trying to avoid using too much gas. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.